Hi everybody. I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes, see if some people join me for this live. It's another one of those short lives I wanted to do this week. But I think I might go ahead and get started, and maybe some people will join us here. And at least I know there'll probably be some people who will be watching it after the fact. This live is entitled Building a Strong Sense of Self After a Dysfunctional or Toxic Childhood. And I thought that would be a good topic for a brief talk tonight, for me to do a little talking. And I do apologize to anyone who is hoping we would give some heads up for the live broadcast, and we will be doing that. We just couldn't get that done today. So again, if you happen to miss this, then you can always watch it after it goes up live, or goes up as a recording. Building a strong sense of self after a dysfunctional or toxic childhood. I want to welcome you to my live today. I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm here to share with you how to heal from trauma of growing up in a toxic family and build a strong, true self. And I think that's often what we get robbed of in growing up in dysfunctional families, is having a strong and true self. That gets pushed down, that gets roughed up, that gets abused, that gets negated, that gets ignored, that gets punished. And so it is not easy for us as children when we grow up in dysfunctional families to develop that strong, true self. I don't think it's too late or ever too late to develop a strong, true self. So I tell people this all the time. And over the past 45 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world who've grown up in narcissistic, alcoholic, abusive, or emotionally immature families or households. If you're someone who can relate to this, then I hope this live stream will be helpful for you. The title of this live stream is Your New Road to Self, which is also the name of my new 6-week self-paced online program. I want to help you on your journey towards self-differentiation, self-healing, self-growth. And this program that I have developed is a culmination of my 45 years I've put into this program that will be starting very shortly. And I hope you will go to the website or a link below and check it out. There are plenty of extras and gifts and things that are going along with the program. And I really think if you've ever thought about learning about self-differentiation and learning about relationships and what's going on in your life, this is the program for you. And if you want to become more of a true self, your real self. Growing up in a toxic family can leave you feeling lost, helpless, and disconnected from ourselves, certainly. You may have developed a pseudo self based on the opinions and expectations of others, including your family members. You may feel like you have to put on a facade to fit in, or that you have to constantly seek approval or validation from others. And all of that is the work of the super self in us. Excuse me, the pseudo self. I'm sorry, that's our pseudo self adapting to others to be a self. If you're not happy, then I'll try to make you happy so I can be happy. But that is a pseudo self way of living when we do that. Often we talk about the Wi-Fi system, and I talk about that often in the family and how to break free from it. And in my program, I talk about this as well and go into great depth. Dysfunctional families are like cults. Everyone follows the system subconsciously. It can be difficult to break free from this super self, this family super self, but it's not impossible. If you can recognize it, see how you're functioning in it, you can begin to find new ways to do a new you. And I think for me, those ways were not available. Nobody was teaching much of those ways back when I was in the beginnings of recovery. And then got hooked up with a family systems approach, and I've never been the same. And I did not even totally fully believe everything I read until I did it. And I realized how much it had a transforming effect on me. I certainly had tried many, many different other ways. The super self, or the family hypnosis, or family trance, was needed when you were an infant, or else you could become psychotic. If we don't have that super self, if we don't have that enmeshment when you're an infant, it's real problematic if you don't. If you continue in that same hypnosis and family trance on into adulthood, then you're going to have problems. And then you'll become psychotic in another way. You'll break down and have a nervous breakdown. As you grow up, we need to become more independent and be our true selves. This is no different than an embryonic cell or an unspecialized cell. In dysfunctional families, we are specialized people. Then we are unspecialized people, then we become a specialized person, our true or real self. So we start out kind of undifferentiated and kind of unspecialized. We're an embryo. And I realize we are unique in that way, but then we become even more unique, and then we become even more specialized. And when I say specialized, I mean more of a sense of self. That's when we become more specialized. I get to know me. Well, if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, that was probably not taught very well for you, and was probably strongly discouraged. Because generally dysfunctional families tend to lean towards enmeshment, codependency, and those kinds of problems, rather than how can we help you be your own person with our support, your own wants and needs, with some appropriate age-appropriate guidance, with, and that kind of balance, rather than, well, you just be the family and then you'll be fine. Just do everything you've learned and then everything will go fine. Well, it doesn't. That's part of the problem. Family enmeshment wants you to stay childlike and glued emotionally to the family. They do not want you to specialize and become a true self apart from them. And that's what cells do. You will end up specializing, and there may be different chemicals, hormones, or whatever that pass between cells, but they still have an outside to them. They still have their own sense of self and function as that kind of cell. Well, we want to be able to do the same thing, and we want to be our own selves and our own cell. But always knowing, just like all cells are still connected, but we want to be connected in a healthy way. And we have the choice to not be connected in an unhealthy way. We have that choice as adults. Let me check real here. Let's see, I wanted to, in a minute I was going to answer a couple of questions. And certainly this is about getting your core identity. And see, I don't want my core identity to be the family of origin core identity. And that's the Wi-Fi, the hypnosis, the programming, all of that comes with it. And when I talk about that, and I think as you work with this, and as I work with those in my program, and to help them to understand, once you start to get it, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. And you're going to start sensing and feeling how you function in this system. And then you'll have a little more objectivity and go, oh, this doesn't feel like the real me. This feels like what I'm supposed to do, not what I choose to do or want to do, or would be healthy for me, healthy for them. This doesn't feel like that. And so you'll begin to recognize that more and more. And I give some exercises and examples and go into depth more in the program about how do you recognize that? How do you recognize your own super self? How do you recognize your own family trance? Do you know what your family trance would be like? And again, what's hard is, if you're in a trance, how do you see you're in a trance outside the trance? And that's the work we have. It's not that it's impossible. It's not even that we have to make that big a change to make a big difference. But you do ask for people to think outside the way they think about everything now. Because the way you think everything now is full of family trance, family dysfunction, family assumptions, family expectations, family normalcy. In other words, if I've been getting mad for the last 60 years, or let's say 40 years, and all I do is get mad, and I was the mad guy growing up at home, let's say, if that was my role. It wasn't, but that we could have that role. And I'm the angry son. That when someone is angry, it's hard to help them to see how that anger plays a role in the family system. They're just thinking, I'm angry because you did something I didn't like. And so they're thinking still inside the box, trying to understand their anger. It's when you can step outside the box, which is what this program I hope will help people do, and look and go, oh, that's why I'm getting angry. That's why I get angry. It's not because they're just goading me or they're bugging me or criticizing me. It's not because of that, because I could ignore all that. That doesn't even have to matter. I see it's because I need to function this way, play this role, be the angry one, so that nobody has to change. Everybody stays the same. And the family is always looking for that homeostasis. Even though it's a dysfunctional homeostasis, they want to keep that homeostasis, equilibrium, always there, so nothing changes it too much. Even if they're bad. Known misery is better than unknown joy or success. And I don't know if you've ever thought of that, but most of us will choose known misery because we don't want to risk maybe it'll be worse, when actually maybe it'll actually be better, and that we have to think outside of this misery box to even get to something better. Because the misery box is what's keeping us right here in everything we think, feel, believe, say, do. So, in truth, in a dysfunctional family, you're never allowed to be your own person. You're expected to play a certain role in the family. You are expected to play that role, to follow certain rules and expectations, and to never deviate from them, and have certain emotional and mental reactions. And I think of that as kind of my subjectivity. I need to look at the world through the glasses of my family. That's what we have learned. And we were issued those glasses, and you are never to take those off, nor put on any other glasses. What I do in my program is I want to help people put on some new glasses. Then they'll be able to see far more than they ever thought they could see. This expectations from the family that we have certain emotions, reactions, thoughts, beliefs, programming, this can be suffocating, and it can prevent you from truly exploring who you are as an individual. Because what I hear people often ask me, and this is kind of an interesting question, they're inside the box of their family dysfunction. They're operating in the box, which means everything you do, see, feel, think is affected by your growing up and also how you're functioning even now. And so when I ask them, who are you? Who is the real you? If you're inside the box, how are you going to answer that question? I'll tell you what I did. I many times thought I was being the real me. But what I didn't see was I was being, quote, the real me, end quote, inside the family dysfunctional box. And so if I'd either become victim-y or become Viking-like. So I'd be, oh, poor me, I'm being mistreated. Or now I'm going to get reactive and just really tell somebody off. And so which is the real me? Giving in or telling somebody off? Which is the real Jerry? I believe neither one is. But that's the two choices I'd have inside the box. That's why that's so critical. Those are the only two choices I'm going to be seeing, because I'm using the family's way of looking at my problems through their eyes. So I'm going, oh, well, I either need to just give in or I need to put up a ruckus and a revolution. But neither one is true maturity and true health. And so that's why I like to help people. Let's start to learn out here who this person may be in here. But let's get some objectivity so we can help you get there so you can be truly you. Because if I neither was the victim nor was the Viking, then what would be a true self position? What would be an adult, real Jerry position at that point? Well, I have my own criteria for what you need those C options to be. Adult, out of your adult, mature, calm, rational, not overly feeling, not in this situation. There are other places for feelings, but not in terms of guiding my thoughts. That's not the best time to use feelings. And that I accept that they may not change, but I also have boundaries that I can put into place if they don't. And I think that's more of an option C than A or B, victim, Viking. They're just making me miserable, I'm the victim. Or now I'm going to rant and rout, have a tantrum, yell and scream, tell them everything I always wanted to tell them for the last many years. And I'll tell you, it doesn't go anywhere. It just, I mean, it could make things worse. It could traumatize everybody. And I'm not saying that your feelings or your problems wouldn't be traumatizing for them. It might. But that's why I'm one of those that go get your traumatizing feelings, anger, rage, worked out with a professional, a friend, a pastor, a coach, therapist. Work on those things there so that you don't need to confront your family and you can be you with your family, which could include, boundaries, for sure. So I'm not saying no boundaries. I'm just saying I just haven't found if I get loud and strong enough, that gets everybody's attention. It may get everybody's attention for a short time, but I'm not sure that it's going to change the emotional field and the emotional process in the family. It's actually probably going to be more of a boomeranging effect rather than actually changing that. One of the ways, and I'll just mention it here, I've got a large segment on it in the program. One way to work on self-differentiation is to master the art of asking self-focused questions instead of other-focused questions. One of the things we learn inside the family crucible, where we all get ground in there like a mortar and pestle, for a pharmacist. One of the things we learn in that box is that we always tend to go towards the quick fix, blame, formulation of the problem. We don't think systems, we think linear. A causes B causes C. Boom, end of question. We don't see A fuels B, B fuels A fuels C, and C fuels A, and A fuels B, and it's all a feedback system going on all the time. And one example, so if we can focus on ourselves instead of others, it may feel unfamiliar and uncomfortable at first. For example, instead of asking the question, how can I get my sister to stop guilting me? How can I get my mom to stop shaming me? How can I get my dad to stop being angry with me? Ask yourself a more self-focused question. All of those were other-focused questions. They were focusing on other people. What is my reactivity when my sister attempts to guilt me? What do I do to regulate me? Not what should she do to stop guilting me. What do I do to stop the guilt? What is my reactivity? What is my self-regulation? And how do I function when my sister tries to make me feel guilty? This shift in focus can help you start to detach from the family super self and focus on your own growth and healing. It's important to remember that the journey towards self-differentiation isn't linear. It's just not A to B, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then we're all done. I wish that was the case. I would have liked that. It's not a linear journey. There'll be setbacks along the way. It's essential to be gentle with yourself and to seek support when needed. You don't have to do this all alone. It isn't done overnight. If you just keep at it, you will find the benefits growing and growing. But breaking free from this family super self isn't easy. It requires a great deal of self-awareness, courage, and a willingness to change the status quo for yourself. You're not even trying to change the status quo for everybody else. The worst thing you can do is try to fix the family. The best thing you can do is fix yourself in the family. Now, if you have to go no contact because the family is abusive or too toxic, certainly those are exceptions. But finding yourself while being connected to the family but still being the adult you is huge for life and for how you will see things. It requires a great deal of self-awareness, courage, and a willingness to change the status quo. It means facing your fears and taking risks, even if it means going against what you've learned from your family. And it certainly probably will go against what your family has taught. It also means accepting that not everyone in your family may be supportive. But I don't have to tell everybody that very much. Most of them know that's probably not the case. Except many people in recovery are waiting on their family to grow up, waiting on their family to get in recovery, don't wait. There's no need to wait. You just keep working on being you, a healthy you, a recovered you. And again, so many people, or I know there was a monk story that talked about novice who came to him and said, "How can I evangelize the world?" And the older monk told him, "Find salvation for yourself, and 1,000 will come to know their salvation." And I think that's true in terms of finding yourself first, and it will affect many systems, and it affect everything that you will have be connected to. But as challenging as it may be, the rewards of breaking free from the family super self are immeasurable. You will no longer feel trapped and suffocated by your family's expectation. You'll have the freedom to explore who you are as an individual and to pursue your own dreams and your own goals. You'll also be able to build a healthier relationship with other people based on mutual respect and genuine connection. And perhaps most importantly, you'll be able to develop a stronger sense of self-worth and self-esteem, which can help you navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and greater confidence. Actually, I found a lot of people, when they really do work on their self-differentiation and they're growing in a sense of self in a family systems type of way, that many times they become healthier, they become more true to what they really want in life and what they would choose, not what everybody else would choose. So, if you're ready to break free from the family super self and embark on a journey towards healing and self-discovery, I encourage you to check out my new 6-week self-paced online program. The modules are good-sized modules. So it's not just a little 15-minute talk and you've done. There's a lot of talking in there. You can take it a piece at a time at your own pace. Your new road to self. In this program, I share decades of experiencing helping people heal from the trauma of growing up in a dysfunctional family and provide practical guidance and support for your own journey towards greater self-awareness and self-differentiation. I know there have been some comments. I'm not sure I have caught everybody's. If someone had a question you'd like me to answer, I would consider doing that. And I'm so glad some other people got to join us tonight because the time is a little different. Tonight, I wanted to do it at a little different time. I'll probably be doing another live tomorrow as well. Oh, thank you. You like my shirt? I really like this shirt. This is one of my favorites. It's just seems like a happy shirt. I don't know. I like it. And I've got this yellow sweater that can kind of go on top of it. And so if you get chilly, you can put a yellow sweater on there. And I think the SH, I see your comment there, and I think that's a great, it's really powerful if we can, she mentions, or he mentions, he's the persecutor when, I had it right there, when I realize that it helps me remove mentally, emotionally, and watch the circus go by. That's what we want to learn to do, to watch the circus go by. I want to be able to, and I want to be able to observe rather than take in all the emotions, thoughts, and all those things. I don't want to absorb all of that from the family or from others. I want to observe what's going on. And well, I appreciate that you saw my other video on other focus versus self-focused. I just think so many times we don't even realize how other-focused we are. I've even had recovery people come to me and go, well, I'm not really codependent. I had a messed up childhood, or my father was an alcoholic, or, they'll say they had dysfunction. There was no doubt. Maybe there was some physical abuse. But when it comes to, so they'll say, I'm not codependent, But all of their questions and most of their statements are other focused. I'm not shaming them for that. I have done that as well. So it's not about shaming them, but it's just not realizing that, wait a minute, you're much more other focused than you realize, whether you're codependent or not. You're always asking, how do I get my dad to stop? How am I going to deal with this sister of mine? How am I going to deal? And I'm going, do you know the only person you have to deal with is you? Now, I'm not saying cut off everybody. I'm not saying don't talk to anybody. I'm not saying go live on an island. What I'm saying is, if someone's causing a problem, the only person I've got to work on is, how am I going to function? What am I going to do? And that I have control over. I don't have control whether they're going to stop or not. I can ask for them to. I can set boundaries. I can even distance myself if I need to. Certainly that's totally appropriate. But it's me I've got to work on. And people come to me, and I work with people who are in business too, and executives and presidents of companies, and just how they deal with their employees and their associates and management. And so many times, again, they will say, well, I just don't know what I should do with the company. I don't know what to do with them. And I said, well, let's stop doing anything with them. Let's talk about you. Where are you going? What do you want? Your clarity on that will make a huge difference in the organization. If you're going to focus on the problems, you'll be focusing on problems all the time. If you've got more than 2 people working there, there's always going to be some problems. And so you don't want to be just always in the micro situation where you're just, and I did that for many years as a leader of an organization. And I was just putting out fires all the time. Do you know why I did that? Because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I wanted. So I'm just going all around fixing out fires. And let me tell you, if you have a couple churches you're leading and you have, there's a lot of fires to put out. And unfortunately, that's, is it Maria from Brazil? My associate is from Brazil. He grew up in Brazil, in Santos. I'm so glad that you joined us. Starting to get a hold of how much we other-focused rather than self-focused in our questions, and how we formulate the problems. How do I get my husband and I to get along better with regard to the finances? That's an other-focused question, and maybe I would have to ask your husband that. Now, what do you want to do with the finances, and what is your goal? What is your desire? What do you need? And so that's at least the better starting place than how can I get someone to understand, or how can I understand yourself really clearly. If I understand myself really clearly, it's far less important to me that other people understand me. If I understand me and go, oh, well, I know what I want. There's no harm. I'm going to do no harm to anyone. This is what I want. And this is where I'm going to stay. Be a broken record. Just say, this is what I'm doing. You can like it, not like it. I mean, that's okay. I'm not trying to harm you. I'm not even trying to weaponize this. I'm just trying to be little old harmless me. That's all I'm trying to be. I'm not a big bad wolf. But I do want to be me. That is what I wish. Let's see here. Do you have a viewpoint? Sorry, got one other question here. Do you have a viewpoint on self-compassion and other compassion as a way to address core shame? I was doing a lot of mindfulness-based work on and found it didn't, influence the core shame. No. Well, I would tend to agree, Richard, if I have your question right. The and shame, self-compassion. I think it's difficult to do self-compassion and self-care if you're shame-based. It's very difficult to do that because why would I? I'm not worth this. Why would I be doing this? And if you do self-compassion, other compassion, while those things I believe are good based on values, because it's important that we have our own values too. Do you value you as a person and that you should be valued? Is that a value of yours? Do you value other people and believe other people should be valued? I believe both of those premises. Not mindlessly. I mean in an adult, mature way. I believe those values. And I'm not sure you're right, that would just fix the shame issue. Because I think shame has a different root system in us. And I work with people to help them stop that shame cycle. And in fact, I even do talk about that in the program as well. Because shame's kind of an interesting thing. I definitely understand how it feels. There is no doubt. And that I'm not sure that, but see, just like we were saying, self-compassion and other compassion, when I joined the church, that was to do good for everybody and me. But you're right, it didn't fix the shame. And so, was that a bad thing to do? No, I don't think it was a bad thing to do. But it's not the fix that I needed. That wasn't the fix. And then we can talk later, maybe I can talk later about more of the fix. But I wanted to share at least some of these things with you, and I hope, Richard, that's a little help. And I could probably talk longer, but I've probably talked your ear off already. I hope you'll look into the online flagship program that's coming up. Get the pre-launch discount with all of the benefits and all the extra things that come with it. And I hope you'll check that out. I really think a lot of people would save themselves a lot of years of therapy and a lot of therapy dollars taking this program. I wish I'd had it. I truly do. And that's partly why I'm doing it. That's exactly why I'm doing it. That's why I started doing videos. I didn't make anything from making videos. Absolutely nothing. Because I felt it was so important that people know these things. And so I thought, well, I like talking about it. This is an area of specialties for me, so let me share these things. They can take what they can use and leave the rest. Well, I will probably be having another live tomorrow, and I hope you will join me also. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I appreciate you spending this time with me. Hope you have a great day. And be wise.